Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. We begin our lesson in the commentary of the Aqaid of Imam al-Nasafi by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may Allah make this lesson any a reason where our sins and are forgiven, our prayers and are answered, inshallah ta'ala. And may Allah bless us and give knowledge of benefit, bless us in the iman and taqwa, and protect us and from all difficulties, trials and tribulations and in dunya and akhirah. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. So as usual, and before we continue from where we stopped in our last lesson in last week, we will do a bit of revision of what we have mentioned. We spoke about the different types of what is called as the Sufis, the Sufista'iyya. Is what Al-Imam al-Nasafi mentioned, and Al-Imam al-Taftazani in the commentary mentioned the three types of Sufista'iyya. So basically they are called the Ainadiyya, and he starts off by speaking about the Ainadiyya. And the Ainadiyya basically it is a school of philosophy then rejects all reality of things, and they mention there are no any realities. So this is the first one. The second one is what is called as the Indiyya, agnosticism, where they say that truth is relative and subjective. It depends on if you feel or if you believe that a particular thing is substance, or it is substance, or it is an accident, or it is an accident. So it depends on the belief of individuals. So there is no such thing as the absolute truth, but truth is something that is relative and subjective. So this is the second part, and in Arabic we call it al-Indiyya. And then we have the another one, the last one is the agnosticism. Al-Indiyya is relativism, or we say subjectivism in modern day philosophy. Whereas Allah Adriya basically it is philosophy that takes a skeptical stance for things. So basically they are saying La Adri, I do not know there is a possibility there is a reality, or there is no any reality. So I do not know. He takes a person he takes the stance of that he doesn't have the knowledge, and he doesn't affirm in the whether there is a reality or there is not a reality. So this is the meaning of La Adriya. And last week also we mentioned about the rebuttal of Al-Imam al-Taftazani pertaining to the Inadiyya. So Inadiyya he mentioned with two rebuttals. Number one is that it is easy to rebut Inadiyya, because by rejecting any realities, the realities that we ourselves are feeling, and we ourselves are seeing, and we ourselves are listening to, and so on. So our reaction towards those realities is a proof that those realities are in existence, and not something that is imaginary. So I gave an example that if a person is hungry, then he will automatically find food. So there is a reality of hunger. Likewise, if a person is thirsty, then he will put in efforts to find a drink. So he acknowledged that there is a reality of thirst. So that is why he is driven to find the things that will solve the issue that he is having. So even if this particular person rejects any realities, it is a contradiction, because he himself acknowledge that there is such a reality of hunger, or such a reality of thirst, even though he says I do not believe in these realities, but the actions he say that it is due to the belief of such, then a person is driven to find the causes to solve the issues that they are facing, like hunger and thirst. And when a person is cold, he will find something to wear. When a person is hot, he will remove any part of the clothes, and so on and so forth. So all these actions it shows that a person acknowledge there is such a reality as coldness, such reality as heat, such reality and as hunger and thirst. So this is the first part of what Al-Imam Taftazani and ribat the Al-Inadiyah. Al-Inadiyah. The second thing, and he speaks about rejecting any realities itself is a reality. The ruling of this rejection in itself is a reality. So there's no such thing as no realities, because even in rejection also there is a ruling that brings a person to acknowledging there is such a reality of rejection. So this is the second thing that he mentioned. And then for the La Adriya, he said that we cannot engage a debate with them, because there are no commonalities between us and them. So the way for them is by the fire. This is what Imam Tazani mentioned, by the fire. What is the meaning and by the fire? It is a parable. Imam Tazani is saying that if they were put fire on themselves, and then they will come to the conviction that there is the reality of fire, and there is a reality of heat. Because in La Adriya, they are basically denying, they are saying that we do not know. They are saying that we do not know. And if you ask them the question, are you in existence? They say, I do not know. Can fire burn? I do not know. I do not know whether fire burns. Even he sees fire burns, he is skeptical. He is skeptical. Maybe this is an imaginary. Maybe this is not a reality. I do not know for sure that this is a reality. So this is what you call it, the stance of Allah Adriya. Present day we call it agnostic. The one who is agnostic, who takes the stance of I do not know. A skeptical stance. So Al-Imam Taftazani mentioned, and you cannot debate with them, because there is no basis for us to debate with them, because they will come to this skeptical stance where you do not know how to begin in a conversation with them. Some of us maybe for the first time when you are hearing this, that there is such people who take this kind of stance where they do not believe even in their own existence. Imagine, even in their own existence, and they are skeptical about their own existence. They have doubts about their own existence. And you might be asking, for example, are there such people who are in this kind of doubt? They are. Even in our country, I've met people in Singapore. I've met people in Singapore, a Muslim who apostate. A Muslim who apostate. So he takes this kind of philosophy of La Adriya. So even to extent I what you call it, I asked him, do you believe in your existence? So exactly what he's saying is that I do not know. I do not know whether I am in existence or not in existence. So I do not know you have met such people. But subhanallah, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before I was learning the matan of Aqaid Nasafiyah, I have this question as to, are these people in existence? Are they around in our time? Because I was thinking that Al-Imam Taftazani 700 years ago, he mentioned about all this. So I was thinking maybe last time they are such, but now I do not know whether they are to such an extent where people doubt their own existence. This is the thing. Of course, nowadays, and when people talk about agnostics, they speak about the existence of God, that they are skeptical, they do not know for sure, and these kind of things that they are saying. But there are agnostics in terms of their belief in God, but they are not agnostic on some other things. So it is not 100% in agnosticism. So they are agnostics on certain things, but they have conviction on the sciences for example. But you have people who is 100% abiding by these laws of La Adriya. Even they doubt their own existence, they doubt their existence of their parents, they doubt the existence of their relatives, they even doubt the existence of this universe. You ask them, is the sun in existence? And they say, I do not know. Maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't exist. You ask them, for example, is it if it is raining, for example, or you are in the day, for example, you ask him, are you in day or night? Say, maybe I'm in a day, maybe I'm at night. I do not know. Or maybe there is no day and there is no night. So this is how you engage. When you engage with such people La Adriya, then you will find that it's very difficult for you to come to a point where you can both agree to something where you can begin the conversation. Because in all things they they will have any this skeptical stance. So that is why you find Al-Imam Taftazani and he mentioned you cannot engage in a debate with them, because there is no point of similarity between us and them. So he gave an example of the fire, because fire of course has pain. They will doubt in the existence of fire. They will also say, for example, fire burns, maybe it burns, maybe it doesn't burn, maybe there is no such thing as fire, maybe there is. So how do you ascertain, and you give them the conviction that in reality, in conviction, there is any fire that burns? So Al-Imam Taftazani mentioned by burning them. So this is what you call it, not again, I would like to say that he's not saying to burn them, but this is just like what you call it, a lesson for them, in a sense that if the fire touches their body, then only they will come to the conviction that there is fire and there is a reality of heat, because certainly people will try to do something to ward off the heat from their bodies. So these are contradictions. All these superstariyah, they are putting themselves in contradictions when they deny the reality of things. And then after that he mentioned asbabul ilmi. So after he spoke about the realities are in existence, and their what you call it, their characteristics are affirmed, khilafan li sufusta'iyya, indifference to the Sufis who reject the existence of realities, whether they reject totally or they reject in terms of relativism, or they reject in terms of what you call it, skepticism in these things. So all these are contradictions. Then after that he mentioned what are the causes of knowledge, that by these causes we are able to understand the haqa'iq, that we are able to understand the reality. So earlier he spoke about reality. So how do you understand the realities? What are the reason and the causes that you are able to understand those realities? So of course after this he will mention the three causes, that is the what you call it, the intellect, point number one, and then we have the senses, and then we have the transmitted reports, mass transmitted reports. But before that, we look at the commentary of Al-Imam Taftazani. So for your information, I changed my mind. For those who are following, I changed my mind. For some reason, I fell in love with Imam Taftazani. I fell in love with Al-Imam Taftazani. Because earlier I was mentioning that we want to focus on the matan of Aqaid Nasafiyah, but what you call it, I changed my mind in the sense that I want to cover the commentary of Al-Imam Taftazani on the Aqaid of Nasafiyah. And since I was thinking, since you have the PDF with you, so it is easy to follow, inshaAllah ta'ala. Easy to follow, inshaAllah. May Allah make it easy upon us, inshaAllah. So even if something is difficult, Allah can make it easy. So let me give you a brief explanation about what is coming now. Al-Imam Taftazani, when Al-Imam Nasafi mentioned asbabul ilmi, he begins commenting on this proposition by speaking about the definition of knowledge. What is the meaning of knowledge? Of course, this is a field of epistemology, where what you call it, our Islamic scholars from last time has spoken about what is the meaning of knowledge, and how people attain knowledge, and what are the causes of knowledge. So all this is, we can call it Islamic epistemology. Is a Islamic epistemology. And you will find our religion, mashallah, the religion of Islam, what you call it, is a religion that is within what you call it, the explanation of reasoning. So Islam, our belief in Islam, it is not something that contradicts any reason and the intellect. Different from other religions. Other religions, we can give a lot of examples. They are contradicting the aql. But in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. This Quran is for the people who possess the intellect, al-aql. There is nothing in Islam that contradicts the intellect. So there is no such thing in Islam as blind faith. Everything has dalil. Whether either it is dalil is, there are two types, of course we have dalil based on the sacred text, dalil naqli, and then we have dalil based on reasoning. That is dalil dalil yani aqli. So now he begins by speaking about the definition of knowledge. So let us see what he says. He mentioned two definitions basically. Al-Imam Taftazani mentioned two definitions, and there are so many differences between these two definitions, and then at the end he summarized it. So let us look at the first definition. So as usual, I go back to the Arabic text. What you can do is you look at the translation. Tamam. So he said wa huwa yani al-ilm. Damir here goes back to al-ilm. Wa huwa sifatun yani knowledge is an attribute. Knowledge is an attribute. Type. When we say any attribute, it differs from substance. It differs from substance. Any knowledge is not any substance, and it is an attribute. Usually, like in what you call in aqidah, we tend when we translate this to English, and usually we use the word accident. The word accident, and when it comes to contingent beings, we use the word accident. What is an accident? Accident is an attribute that is contingent, that subsists within an entity. That subsists within an entity. So it subsists within an entity, meaning it does not stand on its own. So there is no such thing as knowledge as a substance, or knowledge as it is on the outside. So knowledge subsists in an entity. So for example, when you say a knowledgeable person, so it is a person. It is a human being where the knowledge is present in him. So knowledge is an attribute, meaning it subsists within an entity. It does not exist within itself, because it cannot exist within itself, because it is not an entity. It is an attribute, or it is an essence. Wahwa sifatun, then he said yatajalla bihal madhkuru liman qamat hiya bihi. So he used the word yatajalla. He used the word yatajalla. Yani knowledge and it brings tajalli. It brings tajalli. What is the meaning? A good example will be a dark room. A dark room. A person, for example, he enters into a room that is dark. So when he enters into the room that is dark, there he cannot see anything, because there is no light. But the moment he switch on the light, the things around him becomes tajalla. This is what tajalla. So now for example, I'm switching on the light. So this book what you call it is becomes mutajalli. Mutajalli meaning the light now it goes into this book, and I'm able to see. So knowledge is like light. So in Aqidah we say knowledge is kashifa. Kashifa meaning it encompass. It encompass. So he said sifatun yatajalla biha, by this attribute, by this sifa, that gives tajalli, that gives you the ability to understand the things around you, liman qamat hiya bihi, to the one whom this knowledge is subsists in. So now when we say a person possess knowledge, now that knowledge subsists within a person. So he is able to understand the things around him. So the things that is understood now becomes mutajalli. It becomes clear to him. How come it becomes clear to him? Because knowledge has the attribute of kashifa. That it makes the things known. What you call it? It makes the thing known, understood by that particular person. So for example, if a person has knowledge of mathematics, for example, he knows for example 20 plus 20 equals to 40. So this knowledge becomes mutajalli. It becomes clear to him, just like any light that shines on a particular person, that you are on a particular thing, that you are able to see that particular thing by the presence of the light. So this attribute of knowledge is like light. that it makes any the things any around you unknown to be known yani to you. So this one, and he said, Sifatun yatajalla bihal madhkuru liman qamat hiya bihi. Yani who is any the one that is able yani to understand the person yani whom the knowledge yani subsists in. Liman qamat hiya bihi, and he specifically used the word man to differentiate any between human beings and animals, because animals any we do not any say that animals any is an intellectual any being, but human beings any are intellectual any being. So man any here refers to al-uqala, yani those any who possess any the intellect. Then any he mentioned ay yattadihu wa yadharu ma yudhkaru, that it becomes any clear any to this particular any particular person. So just like any light. So this is a good example any of light. Knowledge any is like light any basically. So he has any this attribute of tajalli or attribute any of al-mukashafa, that you are able any to see by it. Wa yumkinu an yu'abbara anhu mawjudan kana aw ma'duman. So whether any the thing any that is known is something any that is in existence or in non-existence. So knowledge any it can encompass any the things that are non-existence or things that are impossible to exist. So that is why when we speak about the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say the knowledge any of Allah any is related any to all the three factions any of the laws any of the intellect. Knowledge any of Allah any it encompasses the wajibat, the mustahilat, the jaizat. So even any the mustahilat, any things any that cannot any be in existence, as what Allah mentioned in the Quran, law kana fihima alihatun illallahu la fasadata, that if there are other gods any other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the earth any and the skies any will be in destruction. So this is any an impossibility, but Allah speaks any about this impossibility, and it is it is related to the knowledge any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So likewise, when we speak any about human beings, it is possible any that you know about the impossibilities, because any knowledge any is not an attribute any that gives any effect, but knowledge any is an attribute any that give you the encompassment any of the things that is known or information. Fayashmalu, and this any includes, and he said fayashmalu idrak al hawas wa idrak al aql من التصورات والتصديقات اليقينية وغير اليقينية. So this any encompassment yani of understanding, when we say that this attribute any of knowledge subsists any within any a person, then this particular person any now is able any to understand the things any around him. So it includes the senses, and he said it includes any the senses. So the senses is basically, it is what you call it, a tool that you are able any by it any to have knowledge any on something. So the sense any of our sight, the sense any of our hearing, the sense any of our touch. So these are causes any of knowledge, and in a sense that when you see any something, then you are able any to know that this particular thing any is like this. You touch any something, and for example you know that this particular thing any is hot any or cold. So senses any is what you call it, the thing any that leads any to knowledge. So likewise any the intellect. Yani the intellect any look any at something and is able any to understand the existence any of a particular thing. You look any you look any at something, and you are able any to understand that this particular thing is possible, or this particular thing any is not possible, or this particular thing any is impossible any to exist. So this can be done any by the intellect any that is any within any a person. So knowledge any encompass senses any and al-aql. It encompass knowledge any that we get any to our senses, and knowledge any that we get any to logical any thinking, and also any from our any intellect. So whether it is based any on simple knowledge, tasawwurat, based any on what you call it, our observation, and also based any on our affirmation. So it includes any knowledge any of tasawwur any basically what you call it, understanding any a particular thing. When it comes into tasdiq, yani it is the belief of the truth any of a particular any statement or a particular thing. So whether this is within any the scope any of conviction or non any conviction. So what I will do any inshallah, I will just any give a summary any of this. So this is any basically one the first definition any of knowledge is speaking any about. So let us any go slowly any again. Now we go back any again. Then we just run through any one more time, and before we go any to the second, before we go to the second any definition. So basically, as what any I mentioned, Al-Imam At-Taftazani is speaking any about the definition of knowledge. So number one, and he speaks any about tajalli, as what any I mentioned, tajalli. So knowledge any is not something that gives effect. Yani it encompasses any the thing that is known. Yeah, meaning you possess knowledge on something, any meaning you know about any particular thing. So it becomes clear to this what any he said, yattadihu wa yadharu. It becomes any clear to you any about this any particular thing. Whether it is something that in existence or non-existence, meaning as well, and he's saying that even something is non-existent, so it doesn't mean that it is impossible for you to know or have any knowledge any that something is impossible to exist or something any that cannot exist. So it includes any things any that are in existence, and also thing any that is non-existence. And then he speaks any about two things. One is the senses, the other one is the intellect. One is the senses, and the other one is the other one in the intellect. So basically, and he's saying any that knowledge encompass any our senses and our intellect. So our senses and our intellect any are the tools any for us any to gain knowledge. The tools any for us any to gain knowledge, and the tools any for us any to come towards understanding any things, and also yani affirmations, whether it is something that is of significations or something any that is based any on affirmations. Yani in the knowledge and mantiq, if those of you and you study any mantiq, and mantiq any we have this tasawwur and tasdiq. Tasawwur and tasdiq. And when we speak about tasawwur, and we speak any about what you call it, the definitions any of things, that we understand any a particular thing any as it is. So this is what Al-Imam At-Taftazani and he mentioned any when he commented any on the meaning any of haqiqatu shay. He gave the example any of human beings, al-hayawanu natiq, and all this for the tasawwur and the signification and to be correct, it has any to be based any on a profound definition. So how do we understand any definitions? So this thing any about definitions and is part any of significations. It is part any of tasawwurat. So when you understand any about a particular thing and based any on its definition, not meaning that you have any knowledge, and this knowledge any is on the tasawwur any of a particular thing. When it comes into tasdiq any, it is the affirmation. For example, any I say Zaid came. Yani this is any a sentence, a proposition. So how do I come into a state of affirmation? And when I see that Zaid actually has came, so I affirm that this particular statement is true. Then he mentioned whether it is based on yaqeen or not yaqeen. So Al-Imam At-Taftazani and he mentioned knowledge can encompass the things that are not based on conviction. In Arabic we call it dhann. In Arabic we call it dhann. We have the difference between yaqeen and dhann. Yaqeen is 100%, whereas dhann is anything that is lesser than 100% and more than 50%. So he said that no matter whether it is based on yaqeen or it is based on dhann, so it is also considered to be knowledge. Although later on we will find a lot of our scholars do not agree to this. A lot of our scholars in books of usulul fiqh, for example, in books of aqidah, when our scholars speaks about al-ilm, they are speaking about yaqeen. But here Al-Imam At-Taftazani and he mentioned that it encompasses also knowledge and that is based on highest possibility, that is based on dhann. So we will so now this is the first definition of knowledge. And then he speaks about the second definition of knowledge. The second definition of knowledge. Then he said, بِخِلَافِ قَوْلِهِمْ, there are other people who define knowledge, which is different than the first definition. تُوجِبُ تَمْيِيزًا لَا يَحْتَمِلُ النَّقِيض. So this is the second definition. The second definition is that knowledge sifa is an attribute. تُوجِبُ تَمْيِيزًا, that enable a person to differentiate. That enable a person to differentiate whether it is what you call it, something and it is in existence, or something is not in existence, or something and that is possible, or something and that is not any possible, and la yahtamilun naqid, and there can be no contradiction. Any meaning he speaks any about it has any to be based on conviction. Yani this attribute must be based any on conviction. So the things that is of dhann cannot any be included any in this particular definition. So this is what he said. After that he said فَإِنَّهُ وَإِنْ كَانَ شَامِلًا لِإِدْرَاكِ الْحَوَاسِ. Even any the second definition any encompass the senses, encompass any the senses, any because it is the senses and you are indeed any of the senses any to differentiate whether something any is cold or hot, whether something any is far any or near, whether something any is loud any or not loud, and you have to depend any on your senses, and this meaning of tamyiz any to differentiate. فإنه وإن كان شاملا لإدراك الحواس بناء على عدم تقييد بالمعاني والتصورات. Yani he said that although this attribute encompass yani the senses, it encompass what you call it the senses بناء على أنها لا نقائض لها على ما زعموا. But this knowledge which encompass and with the senses, that enables you to differentiate any the things, and enables you to establish any the realities any of things, and affirmation, and also to understand the things any that are existence or non any existence. All this any must be based any on conviction. He said ala annaha la naqa'ida laha. There can be no contradiction. No contradiction any meaning, and it must base any on conviction. So this is any the difference any between the first definition and the second any definition. So the first any definition, Al-Imam Taftazani he mentioned that knowledge, what you call it, that encompass knowledge and based on conviction, and also of non any conviction. But here the second any definition, and it speaks any only on the knowledge any that is based any on conviction. So it does not any include knowledge that is not any based any on knowledge that is not based any on conviction. So this is any the issue here. We have any the difference. Then after that, Al-Imam Taftazani he tries any to join any these two meaning together. He tries any to join these two meaning together. But what is any important any for us now? Just any to what is important any is to be familiar any with the word tajalli, the word any kashifa, for example. So what we have to understand is that knowledge any is an attribute. Now it is not an entity. It subsists any within any particular person, and this knowledge enables any this particular person any to understand any realities, and the fact that the senses and the intellect, these are tools that enable any person any to know. So whether this knowledge is only knowledge that is based on conviction or not any conviction, Al-Imam Taftazani at the end what he did was he make any the meaning any similar at the end, and he says that it is only based on conviction. This is what he is going to say. Ala kulli hal. I'm just giving you what you call it the summary. So when there is any these differences, and this what and he said lakinnahu la yashtamilu ghayra al-yaqiniyat min at-tasdiqat. He said the second definition, and it does not include the non any conviction of any affirmations any of things. وَهَذَا وَلَكِنْ يَنْبَغِي أَنْ يُحْمَلْ تَجَلِّي. Then he goes back to speak about tajalli. As what we mentioned, tajalli is the encompassment of the information around us. He said لكن ينبغي أن يحمل التجلي على الانكشاف التام. So we have to look at the word tajalli, that it is a complete encompassment. الذي لا يشمل الظن, that does not include zon. That does not include zon. لأن العلم عندهم مقابل للظن. Because knowledge by the scholars of the mutakallimin, when they speak about al-ilm, what they meant is yaqeen. What they meant is yaqeen. So he goes back to the first definition and to define tajalli, and he said that tajalli of things is inkishafut tam. It is based on conviction of understanding the things that is around us. So that is why he said that this does not include the zon, because when it comes into zon, there is a percentage of doubt in it. So at the end, and he says that knowledge and it must be based on yaqeen. Knowledge and it must be based on yaqeen. So now when we go on. So the translation that you can read. I just come across any this. You see, I think there is a mistake here. This is you see there is a translation mistake in the translation. So just any take note. Yani the author Al-Imam Taftazani is not speaking any about the Sufis. Al-Imam Taftazani is speaking any about the Mutakallimin. This is clear yani from the words of Al-Imam Taftazani. He is speaking any about the two definition any of knowledge. So for those of you any who are following and you have any the book any with you, so just take note. Just take note. This is not any Sufis, because Sufis any khalas any Sufis. When we speak any about Sufis any doesn't even acknowledge any the existence any of realities. So they even any they are skeptical any about knowledge any. How can we speak any about the Sufis any here? Here any speaking any about the ulama. So this is any what you call it a big any mistake, huh? So this Al-Imam Taftazani as what any I mentioned, yani the second definition any of knowledge speaks any about conviction. This is the thing. The second any definition any of knowledge speaks any about any conviction, and there is no wrong any with any the definition. Naam. So I hope any it is clear inshallah. So just any take any this word out. Anyway, this is not a translation any of Taftazani. If you go back into the Arabic, there is not any even what you call it the word any of Sufustai. You see? But I do not know what you call it. How come yani the translator yani mentions Sufustai? So this is a mistake in the dhamir, because yani he mentioned bi khilafi qawlihim sifatun tujibu tamyizan. Qawlihim and it not goes back into the Sufustai, and it goes back into the ulama. So this is any a big any mistake, because any we are you are making the Sufustai and the ulama any to be any the same. So I hope any it is clear. So looks like any we have any to run through any translation, because any seriously I of course I don't read any the translation any before class. I only depend any on the Arabic any text. So if there is anyone any for example spot any mistakes any in the translation, just any keep me informed. Just keep me informed if I what you call it I miss it out. Just now any I just scroll through and I suddenly any I saw the word any Sufis. Then what you call it it shouldn't any be there any. Then he mentioned Dil Khalqi. So now when we go back to what Al-Imam An-Nasafi is saying, Al-Imam An-Nasafi is saying Asbabul Ilmi Salasa. This is what he said. Correct, no? Wa Asbabul Ilmi Wa Asbabul Ilmi Lil Khalqi. This is the word of Al-Imam An-Nasafi. So as what we know, in brackets are the word of Al-Imam An-Nasafi. So the causes of knowledge Lil Khalq. The causes of knowledge for the makhluk. This is what he's saying. Khalq in here goes back into makhluk. Why any makhluk? Here Imam Taftazani mentioned. You say I lil makhluk minal malaki wal insi wal jinn. So makhluk any like angels, what you call it, human beings, jinn, bi khilafi ilmi al khaliq ta'ala. Different any from the knowledge any of Al-Khaliq, and there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the creator. So Al-Imam An-Nasafi any is saying that when we speak any about Asbabul Ilm here we are speaking about the knowledge of the makhluk, and not the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, knowledge any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sifatun azaliyah. Knowledge any of Allah yani cannot any be understood any by any the creations, and we cannot understand the reality of the knowledge any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And knowledge any of Allah yani is pre-eternal. Whereas any knowledge any of the makhluk any